Story 1. For context, I'm in Australia, and most schools here have uniforms. A friend of ours' daughter had an event at school where they were to come dressed as a character from a book instead of wearing a uniform today. She came out of her room dressed in her normal out-of-school clothes, holding a homemade book, and proudly stated, "I found a loophole. I've written a book about myself and am going as myself." Story 2. I work as a developer at a small-ish information technology company that has, before my involvement, offered a range of products and services on-premise at our customers. A couple of years ago, we started to offer our services and products as a hosted solution as well. This is where I come in. Over the course of a year, my colleague Jeff and I ported our products to be suited for a multi-tenant environment. This took a fair amount of work as the original products were not suited for multi-tenancy at all. So in the end, we ended up pretty much rewriting everything. Jeff and I were a good team. Our skills complemented each other nicely. Jeff was always the more technical guy, so he was in charge of the server admin stuff, together with the system's core and security features. I was much more focused on the functional side of the products. I did everything from customer interaction to implementing their workflows, to making sure it all looked good and integrated well with the other applications of our customers. In short, while Jeff knew much more of the back end of our products, I knew what was actually happening in it. This, of course, meant that every single support request for our hosted solution ended up on my desk. The overwhelming majority of those requests were quick and simple fixes, small edits to a workflow here, rerunning a batch job there, that kind of stuff. While I did need Jeff here and there, I was able to do about 90% of those requests myself within about 5 minutes. Sure, we had a technical support team, but they were much more focused on the on-premise customers, and with the hosted solution being significantly different at this point, had little knowledge of the hosted products. I'll cut out a bit in the middle, but about 2 years and a number of reorganizations later, we've ended up at the situation where one of our support staff members, Lisa, knows a fair bit about the hosted system. Jeff has moved to the support team in order to keep our hosted environment running smoothly. And between them, they're able to handle about 80% of the support requests that would normally have filtered down to me. Unfortunately, we are in the situation where the support manager, Steve, doesn't like me very much. Sure, Steve is a good manager, he takes care of his staff, and is a great guy to work with if you're on his good side. Nevertheless, I am not. I have full access to everything while he doesn't, and it doesn't sit well with him that I, a measly developer, have more access than him. A manager. Last year, as I returned from holiday, I found all of my rights on the production environment, and all but a few on the test environment, revoked. Jeff explained to me that there had been an audit, and one of the results was that, while I was still doing a lot on the operational side, that wasn't well documented. The level of access that I had didn't match the level that suited my job description. And instead of changing the job description, Steve opted to revoke all my rights. But what if I need to do insert random task that I still found myself with astonishing frequency? I asked Steve. Steve grinned and said, "We can give you temporary rights, but you'll need a ticket for that." Cue the malicious compliance. I started making a ticket for temporary rights for every single issue that I needed them for. By the end of the week, I had over 100 tickets on my name. The issues that Lisa used to handle were queuing up, as well as she spent more time granting and revoking my access than she was solving the issues that she could solve on her own. Morale, customer satisfaction, and ticket resolution scores essentially an inverse of the amount of time a ticket spent waiting for support action quickly dropped in unison. Steve doubled down. The problem wasn't with the access management. The problem was with my blatant abuse of the ticketing system. And therefore, a new rule was set in place that I was not to be granted access to any of the hosted systems at all anymore. Instead, I was to describe my actions in a request for change document, which could then be handled by Lisa or Jeff. Of course, every change still had to be approved by the change manager, which, of course, so happened to be Steve. Great. Now, issues that took me 5 minutes to fix will take me half an hour to write out. I need to spell out every bit of impact that a change will have, and in such a way that Steve, who is by all means not a technician, understands what I'm talking about. Then Lisa or Jeff will have to make the changes. Of course, if anything unexpected happens, they'll have to roll back, and I'll have to figure out what happened and amend the request for change to cope. All in all, something that used to take me 5 minutes now takes an hour and a half at best. At this point, my productivity is down pretty much 100%. Upper management has noticed this as well. Hearing my explanation and seeing my, by now extensive, paper trail, they intervene by doing the one thing they could reasonably do. They amend my job description to cover the additional tasks that I've been doing since building the system. And with that, Steve has no choice but to reinstate the access that I've had before. Steve still doesn't like me, but at least now the customers get their issues resolved. Story 3. So, backstory is my mom is Filipino raised in California, doesn't have an accent or anything, and my dad is a white dude. I look like my dad, pale and don't look Asian at all. This happened when I was an infant, and my mom told me about the story because my husband and I are going to have kids soon, and she wanted to tell me her racist experience. My family were at the mall with me in the stroller, obviously. In comes a rude woman. My dad went to the restroom real quick, and my mom decided to sit down and wait for him. Rude woman. Oh, how cute she is. How old is she? Mom, she's 5 months old. The rude woman looked at my mom and said, "Oh, are you the nanny?" Mom, nope, I'm the... You must be the babysitter. Mom, who is in shock. No, I'm the mom. I gave birth to her. But she doesn't look like you at all. Well, no, but she does look like her father. Nonsense. The child doesn't look like you, and I don't see a father around. You probably kidnapped this poor child. Mom is in total shock and scared. Then this witch tries to take me out of the stroller. Mom, what the heck are you doing? That's my baby. I'm gonna find this child's real parents. Dad comes back out and sees what's going on and runs to my mom's side. What the heck are you doing? Let go of my daughter's stroller. Rude woman looked at him and then at me, realizing I look like my dad. Rude woman. Oh, she does look like her father. Okay, never mind. Bye. She walked away. Yes, my parents ended up reporting her for attempted kidnapping, but we haven't heard from the police yet. We'll let you know once there are updates. Story 4. Okay, so I'm still upset about this. I want to go and find this lady and throw a bat at her head. So, a bit of backstory. I'm a mixed 18-year-old female. I'm also one of 6 kids, and my older sister is 10 years older than me. She had my nephew about 3 years ago, and I absolutely adore him, but you can't tell that we're related. My older sister has a different father to me and the rest of our siblings, and you can definitely tell. She has pale, blonde hair, blue eyes, and my nephew is the exact same, and he's the cutest little boy ever. So my sister had to work and couldn't get anyone else to watch him, so I offered like the good sister and aunt I am. I've watched him by myself plenty of times before, and I had nothing better to do. It was a nice day, and I live close to a park, so I thought it would be a great idea to take him and let him run around and wear himself out a bit before he had to nap. So I grabbed everything I needed, put him in his stroller, and we were off. My parents also knew where we were going just in case there was a problem, and they definitely were. We got to the park about 10 minutes later, and my nephew was so excited. He was doing that little kid babbling, and it was adorable. I unstrapped him when he ran. He knew to stay where I could see him, and I was always about 10 feet behind him just to be safe. We were there for about an hour before he started to get tired and cranky and needed his afternoon nap, so I gathered his toys and everything else before picking him up. But before I could strap him into the stroller, I heard that signature rude woman clearing of the throat. This lady was probably in her mid to late 30s and had been there before I showed up. She had with her 2 little girls, but they were just chilling and said nothing during this whole debacle, probably used to their mother's banshee screaming. Entitled mother, what are you doing with that boy? Me, getting ready to take him home. It's almost time for his nap. Well, where is his mother? Not here. Look, lady, what are you? So you're trying to kidnap him. Her screeching definitely caught the attention of every other parent around. Me? What? No, this is my nephew, and it's time for us to go home. How can he be your nephew if he's white and you're not? She for real said this. After she said that, I just gave her this look of confusion, and even her kids looked at her weird. Me, are you always this confused, or are you having a bad day? I probably shouldn't have said that, but she was making me upset. Now if she wasn't upset before, now she was. Entitled mother, what did you just say to me? Not only are you trying to kidnap this child, but you are also insulting me. She held out her arms. Now give me the child. What? No. Look, lady, I don't know who you are, and I'm definitely not giving you my nephew. And just because we don't have the same skin tone doesn't mean we aren't related. Before she could say anything back, one of the regular park moms came up to us. Friendly mom, OP, what's going on? Entitled mother, thank goodness you're here. She was trying to kidnap this poor child. What do you mean? This is OP's nephew. I see them and OP's sister here all the time. But how can that be her nephew? She's obviously black, and he's white. How could they possibly be related? This again sparked a tired and confused look on mine and Friendly Mom's face. Friendly Mom, OP, why don't you head home? Nephew is obviously tired, and you look like you could also use a nap. Thanks. Say hello to her daughter's name for me. Friendly Mom, okay, and say hello to your mom. I went home seething. You only think these sorts of people are on bad reality TV shows or social media. But nope, I was wrong. I told my sister about this, and she too wants to hit this lady with a bat. Mom is just relieved Friendly Mom showed up when she did because I would have fought that lady then and there. Story 5. This is going to be a long one, but boy does this make me laugh sometimes. So, I work as a cashier at a retail store with a dog as the mascot. We sell all sorts of wares such as groceries, clothes, etc. We also sell alcohol. I love this job, and 99% of the clientele is amazing. However, this one particular day, we got a bad egg. Now, store policy is that we check every single ID for anyone purchasing alcohol. It was one of the first things us cashiers were taught during training. The computer literally will not let us do anything but scan a valid ID. So, this one day, a woman comes through my lane. She's pleasant. At first, let's call her entitled person. She made small talk at first, and I was ringing up her purchases. I typically try to ring up alcohol last since it can sometimes get in the way. When I do, the prompt comes up that I must scan the ID. The following conversation unfolds. Me, all right, ma'am. May I see an ID for this wine? Entitled person, why? Because I legally cannot sell alcohol without seeing a valid ID. I'm obviously older than 21. Yeah, I understand, ma'am, but I can't bypass the ID. I must scan the valid ID. Can't you just input my birthday? I would still have to see a valid ID. We only do that when the scanner is down. I could lose my job if I sell you this wine without a valid ID. I'm sorry about the inconvenience. If you'd like, I can suspend the transaction so you can get your ID. No, I'm just not gonna get it. Okay, ma'am. So, I finish her transaction, all while she's mumbling about not needing ID. I give her receipt, and she leaves. Or, at least I think she leaves. As I'm ringing up the next customer, I notice the entitled person angrily talking to my coworker about a terrible employee who asked for her ID. My coworker later filled me in on the dialogue on our breaks. Entitled person, excuse me. Coworker, yes, ma'am. Entitled person, that girl over there asked for my ID. Confused, ma'am, she's supposed to do that. She then explains the policy. That's ridiculous. Get me the manager. The manager walks over. Can I help you? Your employee pointing at me asked for my ID. Clearly, I'm old enough. Looking at me while I'm talking with other customers, she did the right thing. Legally, we cannot sell alcohol to anyone who can't present valid ID. That's stupid. I understand it's frustrating, but we cannot sell you alcohol right now without ID. Entitled person then storms away, back to my line. I kind of sigh to myself as I know it's going to be a doozy. I greet her politely as if we didn't already talk before. Me, how may I help you? I want to return her entire purchase if I can't get the wine. She said this as if it was a threat. One more thing to note. The regular checkout lanes do not have the capability to process returns. There is a special guest service desk for that. Me, ma'am, I'm sorry, but I can't process returns at this lane. However, my coworker over there at guest service pointing at my coworker would be happy to help you. Nonsense, you can process returns. At this point, I've lost my patience. Ma'am, I must reiterate that I cannot process returns. This register is not equipped with that software. If you'd like to return those items, you are going to have to go to guest services. It's at this point that my other coworker, B, joins in. B, she's right. We can't process returns at these lanes. There's no line at guest services, so they'll be able to help right away. Fine. She yanked up her items and stormed away, but not without one last exchange with B. Have a nice day. Oh, forget you. You too, ma'am. Later on, manager pulled me aside to tell me I did nothing wrong and praised me for doing the right thing. It's been about a week since this happened, and it still makes me laugh. Hope y'all enjoyed.